Welcome to the fifth and final game of the AlphaDraft Challenger League. My name is Daniel Sifa Dracos, and I'm joined by Ryan Frosker and more. And this is going to be our final game versus Misfit and Team C9T, or Tempest. And these are two of the most hyped lineups coming into the tournament. Who's your favorite to come out on top, and what do you think of these two teams?
I mean, I've always been a fan of Alex since Moscow 5, since Gambit. Now, seeing him return to League of Legends through the North American Challenger scene and joined and flanked by some pretty big names. We got RF Legendary, Crumbs, Alex Ich, and Tense and Yuno on Misfits. On the other side, of course, the up-and-coming. It's almost like the veterans versus the North American talent that everyone believes in. Of course, Cloud9, they had their shot at the North American CS. Unfortunately, had to give up their spot due to some... what's the way I want to phrase this? Ringers? Issues with their subs. How about that? But we are into our pick and ban phase. It's going to be Urgot, Nidalee Zed, LeBlanc, and Cho'Gath already off the board.
And these are some pretty standard bans on both sides. Obviously, Urgot, an incredibly powerful champion on the current patch. Hasn't seen too many changes since he's been popular in competitive play. Nidalee, still a powerful, aggressive jungler. And Cho'Gath, one of the most oppressive mid laners in the game. So some pretty logical bans here. And Yusui Zed, of course, taken off as well. And Azir taken away from Alex Ich. Not a ban I see too much of, but not one I'm surprised by. Alex Ich known for a pretty deep champion pool.
What I find actually really curious is you look at the bans on the Misfits, they're almost a little bit self-targeted. Alex has actually been performing very well on a Zed pickup recently, and likewise, RF Legendary up in their top lane is a known Nidalee player. I mean, obviously his champion pool has expanded, but that's his signature champion, and both of them taken away.
Well, we'll have to see exactly what RF Legendary goes with here. Now, haven't seen him too much in competitive play. Admittedly, I've seen him a lot in solo queue, and I've seen him a lot in the Omen Encounter, which was more of a solo queue style tournament. So it'll be interesting to see what he adopts with here. If he picks something a little bit more team focused, Hecarim is the hover over. We'll have to see if they lock it in, but that would be kind of a champion that fits into his play style, a dominant laner, and someone who can make an impact in team fights too.
I was just going to say this fits perfectly to RF Legendary's MO, very mobility focused, has a lot of versatility in that it can be split push oriented or likewise get involved in those team fights. So should see a lot of success from that champion and still really holds some priority picks down the line for his team. On the other side though, we're going to see what Cloud9 are going to pick up. Now Solo King, top lane solo, is actually a known pocket Swain player. He's been trending more towards the traditional meta of tanks as of recently, Gnar, Sion, things like that. So we'll see if he continues that trend, although every time I see him in a game, I'm like, please, pull out the pocket Swain.
I don't think we're going to see it this game. Obviously, an incredibly dominant player in general. You know, it got the name the Solo King for a reason. I feel like it's pretty well earned on this one. Doesn't look like we're going to see what he's going to select this time around, though. It looks like we will see the Nautilus support picked up and perhaps the Gragas jungle for hard as well. So some early, more defensive picks, support and jungle picked up from Cloud9. The response on the opposite side, we'll have to see. Crumbs still has yet to pick a jungler. We've yet to see a support either. I wonder if Yuno will play that signature Thresh.
Would be the two hook champions in the bottom lane if she decides to go that route. And I like the fact that we haven't really touched on Sheep, the newest addition to the Cloud9 lineup. Now, kind of the reoccurring theme for Cloud9 is that their support player is never a dedicated support player. It's always an AD carry that transitions into this role. This time, though, Lod got it right. He's got Sheep on his side, so definitely a big boom of power to their bot lane synergy. I'm so hyped for this matchup. Pretty much across every single role. It's Crumbs, one of the best North American LCS junglers, versus Hard, who by far has the strongest showing as a jungler in the North American Challenger scene.
Well, we're going to see exactly how well he can do it with that Gragas pick. And, of course, Crumbs now on that Nunu. If you wanted a high-impact early-game jungler, you got it. And, of course, it looks like the Morgana picked up. Most likely going to go to Ramalia in that bot lane, of course, for Amelia. Also known as Yuno in the past, but Alex could play it himself in the mid lane. We'll have to see. Yusui and Lod up next to pick, and of course, all that they've got left is solo laners and that marksman as far as lock-ins go. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly what they pick up here, and more than anything, I just want to know this mid lane matchup. I just want to see exactly what they're going to take here.
It could be a Morgana. I mean, to be fair, Alex Ich is from Europe, and Europe has a love obsession with that champion as a flex pick and also taking it into the mid lane.
Well, we'll have to see. Obviously, we have the best Morgana world. I think it's proclaimed by many of his fans on another team. So it wouldn't surprise me if we saw Morgana mid on anywhere else in the tournament. Now it looks like we're going to have the Kennen locked
Classic.
in. I don't know if this is going to go to solo. Maybe it's the
It's definitely going to go to solo. They always give Yasui the counter pick unless they're first picking like an overpowered or very high priority mid laner for Yasui. He's the big power point. He's the star player of Cloud9 Tempest. Any chance that they can to give him a counter pick, especially when he's facing down someone like Alex Ich, it's always going to happen.
Well, we'll have to see what Alex Ich decides to take into this mid lane. He may be picking something up blind. And of course, with Kennen going to the top lane, almost guaranteed that we're going to see the Nautilus Sivir bot lane. So that's a pretty powerful set of hard engage. And with Gragas no longer on the table, there's really no disengage options to get this Kennen out of the team. Could still take a Janna for the bot lane, though. If they want to send this Morgana mid, that's a pretty safe matchup. But Morgana, maybe not the high-impact champion that Alex wants to play.
Ooh, Alex's Orianna.
We'll have to see if he's like, oh, it looks like it's going to be, there's no way that's a support Orianna. So it looks like Alex is going to play that Orianna into the mid lane. And of course, now the Morgana Caitlyn bot lane, very safe, but you know, it's pretty important when you're facing down a support Nautilus. And of course, the new Caitlyn late game is pretty darn impressive.
I really like the Orianna pickup here. Obviously, it's a very safe pick. Ahri is also available. I expect Yasui to look that direction, although he could go Syndra, he could go Cassiopeia. Likewise, especially the Orianna is so appropriate here because it's defensive, knowing that you're about to get counterpicked in the mid lane. The fact that Zed and LeBlanc are both off the table, that they're the highest priority. Just really curious what our mid lane matchup's going to be.
And of course, Orianna, kind of the jack of all trades mid laner, does kind of not do too much in the early game, but always is going to have an impact in the mid to early game team fights. And when you start that shield, that command protect on Orianna, she trades pretty efficiently with just about everyone. And it looks like we might see the double AD comp as the Corki's hovered over here, and now it's going to be locked in for Yasui in that mid lane. So looks like a Corki mid lane, and it's a pretty powerful double AD comp.
Yasui did promise me on Twitter that he was going to do a 720 no scope. So I have a feeling that he secretly told me that it was going to be the Corki, that I'm looking for the crazy flash Valkyrie into the no scope rocket on top of Alex.
Well, it looks like that last pick may have been, looks like a little bit of a rune error. So we are going to have some players fix that before we jump back in. But those are the final picks for Champion Select. So we're just going to jump through this one more time. And guys, we're going to have a little bit more than 3-minute spectator delay now. So we have to run through pick and ban one more time. But what you see on your screen are the final picks. Get ready for probably the most hype matchup of the evening. Misfits versus Cloud9 Tempest. We'll be back in about 3.5 minutes. In the meantime, head on over to AlphaDraft. Check out the AlphaDraft Challenger League options. You can draft your team for tomorrow. Although you may want to wait until after this matchup as two Titans go head-to-head. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the 5th and final game of the AlphaDraft Challenger League. Of course, for day one, we'll be back tomorrow as well. But starting off in this game, on the blue side, it's going to be Misfits RF Legendary into the top lane. Don't be confused by the jungler. That is going to be Crumbs. Alex Ich is in our mid lane. Intense and Yuno bringing up the bot lane. Of course, Crumbs. A little bit of a swap over to Alberta, preferring his mother-given namesake now instead of his personal tag. Alex and Ich and Yasui already trading in the mid lane, but for C9 starting up, it's going to be the Solo King in the top lane, now known as Solo. Hard in the jungle on that Gragas pick. Yasui on that mid lane Corki. LOD in that bot lane on Sivir. And then, of course, Sheep on that all-powerful Nautilus support. And already coming out in the all-chat, a little bit of banter, friendly banter back and forth between the two teams.
I mean, let's be frank, let's be honest. This is going to be the top two teams currently in the challenger scene. You've got huge veteran names. You have Cloud9, they barely missed their chance at the NACS. Coming into it, everyone's saying they're going to be the favorite team. They're very strong. Look out for them. They're right there with the Dragon Knights, with Enemy, with Fusion. Missed their chance due to a technicality, kind of a rule ringer issue. Will get their second chance here to prove themselves. And we talked about how the big issue for Cloud9 Tempest is always that their support has never been an actual support main. It's always been an AD carry that transitioned into the role through Stixie and things like that. We finally have Laud, a very powerful, very up-and-coming AD carry, with a support main in Sheep, the newest addition to this team.
And that's got to be such an exciting bot lane to watch. Of course, both lanes have to be careful, but we're not going to see them go head-to-head as they have opted for the lane swap. Misfits preferring to take their chances against this Kennen, sending RF to kind of do his own thing in the jungle here with Crumbs, the mid lane matchup, trading even so far. And bowling out here with that tormented soil, wants to clear it out as much as possible. And this is the first time I've seen those updated Morgana particles, and they're just beautiful.
Yeah, they're gorgeous to look at. So, like you said, we do have a lane swap. It looks like it is going to be a freeze there from and Tinson to the top lane. Likewise, in the bottom lane, Laud and Sheep freezing that up. We'll see if maybe the junglers go for dives on either side of the map, although right now, Crumb's taking his time on his own side of the jungle, but has plenty of time for that wave to continue to stack up before it hits the tower with 3 or 4 creeps.
Of course, with that duo jungle as well, the Hecarim and the Nunu could hit the tower at the same time. We'll have to see if they get the opportunity to dive Kennen, though. Alex each pushed into his own turret. Corki dropping a few wards down, pinging that one out. But Nautilus is going to back off here, maybe heading into the top lane, trying to make sure that this dive doesn't happen, leaving Laud to farm solo in the bottom lane. Looks like we're going to have 4 members of Misfits on the top side.
They actually did the jungle much faster than expected. They've taken both buffs on the side of Cloud9 and are looking to secure their own red buff and moving up into that top side, like you said, securing, placing down vision, making sure they're not walking into a trap, but we will have a confrontation.
Looks like RF just going to try to bully off the turret here as they start to take down this tier 1 on the top side of the map, but no dive attempt going to go down, so neither side going to drop any kills. But we may see our first turret taken to the game very early on. Caitlyn lethal at taking those turrets. RF Legendary now going to TP down to the bottom side of the map, try to get some CS and experience back for himself. Already outscoring this Kennen, who's unfortunately hasn't had an opportunity to get much of anything in this lane swap, as and Intense just bullying them out of this lane. Laud still pushing in, doing a lot of damage on his own. RF only level 2, not able to contest that one too much.
And like you said, despite the damage that Laud has gotten onto that bottom tower, advantage is definitely going over to Misfits initially, just because they've been so effective in keeping Solo down, making sure that he's not getting the CS, but more importantly, making sure that he's not getting the experience. That is still a level 1 Kennen to the level 3 RF Legendary.
That's a tough spot to be in for sure, and of course so many members forced onto the top side of the map to protect him and to protect that turret, but Intense still pretty comfortably poking that one out, getting an auto attack in here and there. They don't want to take this turret too quickly. They want to deny as much CS as possible. Black Shield getting dropped down there as the final auto attack will go down and give them a small gold lead. Only 700 at this stage of the game, but it doesn't look like Sivir on the bottom side. Laud is going to be able to take out that turret for himself. So a small advantage going over to Misfits in this early stage of the game.
And again, that advantage is entirely in the CS discrepancies between the top lanes and the AD carries, as well as the global gold that first initial tower is going to give Misfits. We'll see how Cloud9 react to it. They did have better jungle control, because remember, it took Crumbs and RF so long to clear their own jungle to get up to that top lane to zone Solo King off. So we'll see if maybe the extra attention that went to Hard and making sure that he accomplished more of his jungle will transition into Cloud9's power spike later down the road.
We'll have to see. You can see already body blocking any shurikens that Kennen's throwing in to try to get farm, so he's in a bit of a tough spot. 6 to Hecarim, 17. Of course, Alex each in the mid lane, though, falling behind Yasui at least a little bit, 34 to 41, and Yasui already finishing that Sheen. That's a pretty substantial power spike this early in the game, only 5 minutes in, and both these mid laners, I mean, this is the matchup we have to be excited for. Alex each, formerly of M5, formerly of Gambit, one of the best mid laners of all time against Yasui, who's kind of that, the young blood and an up-and-comer.
He's just missed his chance, just slim, for North American LCS every single time. Everyone knows he has it in him, just needs to commit to it, needs to have his stage, and finally gets a pretty big one. Facing down Alex Itch, how many times do you get to do that, especially in the North American Challenger scene? That said, here we go. Misfits have now rotated their bot lane. They took the top tower. They're now rotating their control to the bottom side of the map to set up for this dragon. That said, Cloud9, they expect this coming. They quickly grab control of the scuttle. So great move from there and a good counterplay to kind of stall this dragon out a little bit, or at least know what's happening should Crumbs try to approach this one.
Crumbs moving into the jungle there, now moving down as well. And it looks like we may see a little bit of pressure coming in here as moves in. Laud now 6, though, so does have a pretty substantial experience advantage, and that on the hunt is available. But with a mana pool so low, it's not exactly the ideal situation. Dragon not taken by either side yet, but Crumbs, of course, on that Nunu pick, has a pretty much guaranteed control over it, at least in the early game, as Alex each desperately tries to trade efficiently with Sui, but is having trouble doing so.
So despite the scuttle, they are going to go ahead and start the dragon. Looks like there's going to be 0 response from Cloud9, and I think they've, with Laud pressing his back right there, they're going to go ahead and give this one away for free.
Tough spot to be, a tower and a dragon given up, and Cloud9 looking a little bit less confident in the lane swap than a little bit more of these LCS veterans. Unfortunately, as a result, now a pretty reasonable lead, 400 gold. The difference here made smaller by the farm advantage, of course, on the side of Cloud9. And, of course, the first dragon buff as well, going over to Misfits.
I mean, it makes sense. Misfit have the better dragon control initially just because Crumbs is on that power pick of Nunu, has the smite with the consume available. You're waiting on major item power spikes as far as C9 is concerned, especially with Yusui in that mid lane. Does have the Sheen, so has some initial burst damage, but is really going to take off when he has that Trinity Force available. So second rotation of the dragon, Cloud9 is going to be in a much better spot just item-wise to try to contest that one.
Well, it looks like we'll have to see how it goes moving forward. AlphaDraft has already finished the Chalice, so he will be able to match the wave pressure of Yusui. And Yusui, though, already working on that phage and continuously backing whenever possible, trying to get some sort of itemization advantage. And now the 2v2 in the bot lane. This is another matchup we talked about being excited to see. Laud finally with a dedicated support player and a pretty substantial experience advantage. It's going to be interesting to see if they can find the engage that they want here in the bot lane.
It's finally got a support player. They're matching with their Warden skins, looking fly in that bot lane.
That's my favorite part. The Warden skins are just so
just epic. Icing on the cake.
Yeah, and then they're matching. Like, it's just coming. That's team synergy at its finest,
cute.
I think.
Just adorable. No, I'm always really excited. Laud, he's actually... I mean, it seems weird in his playstyle because he's a fairly aggressive player, but really strong Sivir and Kalista player. So I always like watching him on that champion. And I think it's going to fit really well with Sheep, not only because the innate built-in synergy between Sevir's ultimate and Nautilus's ultimate and just the massive hard engage that offers, but just them in their playstyles. But meanwhile, top lane.
Solo in trouble here as he gets engaged on. RF Legendary does still have the Onslaught of Shadows. He's going to get first blood. Crumb's going to take that one for himself. Kennen able to respond with the Slicing Maelstrom, but it's not going to be enough as Caitlyn gets the assist off the trap as well. So it's a nice little bonus gold for Intense down there in the bot lane.
I love how the slowest moving projectile in the game, Crumb's snowball there from Nunu, is what takes up the first blood. Able to connect because he was effectively standing inside Kennen's mouth when he threw it. But off of Kennen's death, he's also going to eat up that red buff. So not only is he putting Solo King down, he's also affecting Hard. And Hard is pretty much the trendsetter for Cloud9. Yes, Yasui's their star, but they live and die and hinge on Hard's effectiveness in this jungle.
Well, it looks like he's having a little bit of a trouble to have an impact so far. Something that hasn't quite affected Crumbs. Crumbs, of course, with his first kill of the game and an early Sightstone. Can have such dominant vision control as he moves on to the top side once again. It's clear that there's a huge emphasis on stopping the Solo King from getting ahead. They don't want this guy to bully RF out, and they don't want to give him any opportunity to farm.
Also just massive power of that Kennen ultimate for the team of Cloud9. Again, if you just think about how their composition set up, that hard engage, the on the hunt with the Maelstrom, and there's Crumbs with the flash.
Uh-oh, Crumb's trying to channel that Absolute Zero, not going to get it. Solo trying to find his way out, but these characters are just too fast as Misfit picks up yet another kill on Solo. And it's starting to look like Cloud9 falling apart a little bit as the rinse and repeat of the top lane ganks going in the favor of Misfits.
Just playing to their strength, knowing that this bottom lane in Morgana and Caitlyn is incredibly safe, even against the hard engage potential of Nautilus and Severe, that he's able to play to that top side where he's already started to get an advantage and just like pressure it harder. So it's not, again, it's not just transitioning into keeping Solo King down, it's starting to bleed over into affecting Hard in his farm and his jungle control.
You can see him struggling. He's finally backed. Does have that Cinder Hulk though, so we'll get something out of this. But Corki in the mid lane still keeping up with AlphaDraft as though he had an early farm advantage. Still hasn't finished that Triforce. AlphaDraft has, of course, finished that Unholy Grail. The Thirsty Cup. Going to make it pretty much impossible for Corki to push these waves in too efficiently.
No, you see the Athenes is the Thirsty Cup. The Big Gulp is the, the Chalice is the Thirsty Cup. The Athenes is the Big Gulp.
Oh, I got to get my... my colloquial terminology for League of Legends items down. I apologize.
You're forgiven this once.
All right. Well, Solo in the top lane, still struggling. He's playing a little bit like a trauma victim as he continues to ward down and evades that Nunu. And for good reason. You know, he saw him itemize the needlessly large rod early, but unfortunately, as a result, he's incredibly vulnerable to those style of ganks. Gragas already headed into the top side to be there if necessary, but Crumbs on the bottom side of the map. It looks like they may try to push in this tier 1 tower as a trio.
They've got good ward coverage on the top side of the map to keep Solo safe. Dragon is spawning in 1 minute. Both teams have the timer, and this is what we were talking about. The itemization power spike will shift for that mid-game power that Yasui's going to bring on this Corki pick for this next upcoming dragon. We'll see if he backs in time to complete his Trinity, or if he's just going to be sitting on the Fade Sheen pieces.
Interesting indeed. Hard finally into the top lane. Solo trying to find an engage. RF might be taking the bait here as Gragas finds his way in. They may be able to trade something back. RF going to tank that cask. And a quick kill going over to them. Solo, patient play, smart play, and RF falling right into that trap.
Understanding that he had the small window of time, a minute before the dragon spawns, although Cloud9 needs to be very careful about their timer here. Dragon is going to be up in 28, and Crumbs entirely on that side of the map. Laud, Dark Binding swings.
Looks like the Soul Shackles is going to come out. It looks like Laud is not going to get locked down. Sheep will, though, in the absolute zero. Going to take an immense amount of damage there. Intense not going to follow up with any kind of ultimate, though. Not going to be enough to kill them. And not really looking like too much as far as pressure goes either. Dragon up in just a few seconds, though. Looks like the second one of the game may go over to Misfits as well. They have immense ward control on that side of the map, and Sheep and Law don't look like they want to contest this whatsoever.
And the communication from RF, sitting on base, has his home guards available as well as the teleport, was trying to see what Hard and Solo were doing, if they're going to commit to taking the top tier tower, if they're going to swing towards the dragon. Stood on the base, waited for the communication. Am I going top, or am I looking for the teleport home guard flank if they try to contest this dragon? So showing great cohesion from Misfits for a brand new challenger team.
Now going to push in this bottom lane as well. Nope, looks like they're going to go for the freeze instead, just wanting to get as much farm as possible, knowing that they can't really take this tower away from the Nautilus and the Sivir, maybe trying to build up a wave. But Crumbs now going to clear out his own jungle and having a lot of impact on this Nunu early on. Wants to see if it can care or continue as they move forward into the game. Gragas not itemizing a Sightstone of his own, at least not yet. Going for an armor item first. And in the top lane, already Hecarim with the home guards TP boots. So ready to go in at a moment's notice.
Do you have Hard walking down? On the Hunt is not available, however Nautilus's ultimate is. Hard surely going to belly bop over that wall and straight into a trap.
Good trap placement. Law with a flawless spell shield there. Pretty much hitting it right as the binding did. And already about a 20 CS lead in the favor of Laud. So, you know, despite losing out a little bit across the map, he is able to get something back from the gold. And you can see almost pretty much just a 1k advantage going over to Misfits, almost entirely because of this 20 CS lead in the bottom, keeping them from it being any worse.
The one thing that we have to be mindful of, obviously, is that these dragons are not worth global gold, they're worth stats, and the gold scoreboard doesn't illustrate the advantages that those give to teams. So yes, it's still fairly close, but with those two dragons, especially on the scaling AP and AD, that gold deficit is a little bit invisible.
Definitely those invisible stats from the dragon affect a lot of it. I wish there was a way to include that in there, but of course, maybe a little bit far off as far as spectator features go. Now Crumbs moving into the side of the jungle. Looks like he may be pursuing Yasui. Gonna throw the snowball out there, a little bit of damage, but not too much here. Alex each more than content to just keep farming, managing to stay even against Yasui in this mid lane. So maybe an even match, at least as far as PvE goes for these guys, at least for now.
That Trinity Force is complete. I was promised a no-scope Yasui. I expect it. I expect it on Alex itch.
He may find it, but right now it looks like not a whole lot of trading going down either way. Alex each burning through some mana to get the kill there. Uh-oh, looks like Yuno is going to go in. They're going to try to disengage with that depth charge. Laud looks like he may try to re-engage as well. The hook coming out, spiraling at him. But it's not going to find home there as she misses that one. And looks like both sides burning their ults, but neither one finding an excellent opportunity to engage. RF trying to find his way in, finding Hard there as well, though, getting baited in once again. Solo flawlessly going to flash out of that last bit of damage. And I talked about Solo making the mistake of walking in over and over again. Looks like Crumbs getting stunned out by the Gragas there. Beautiful play from Hard to save Solo in that situation.
I always love watching how Hard plays with Fog of War. Just staying just outside, waits for RF Legendary to overcommit with the Onslaught of Shadows, comes and cleans up the kill, and then manages to save Soul King as he gets a slick teleport out of the impending doom of Crumb's snowball.
Solo King, just amazing play there as Alberto. Crumbs is going to try to run in on this one, but may not be fast enough to get away here. Yasui not going to pursue it, though. Knows Alex each is waiting off to the side, and Intense trying to bully Laud out, but could be in trouble. Exhaust is going to get knocked down. Heal coming out as well. Caitlyn has to be careful here. It looks like their turret will drop. Caitlyn does have ultimate, but doesn't want to use it into Sivir's spell shield, of course, and looks like they're just going to have to back off here. Surprisingly, the Sivir Nautilus turret or combo is going to get that first turret in the bot lane.
And a lot of that came off of the power that was so well played on that last big trade that we saw with all the ultimates being burned. Knowing that Yuno had flashed forward and used her Black Shield, it was an excellent decision of Sheep to immediately counter-engage on top of Caitlyn, knowing that the Black Shield wasn't available to save her, and then immediately the On the Hunt is popped to follow it up. So great decision-making there from Sheep to turn that in Cloud9's favor. But Shockwave mid lane.
The Shockwave getting in, the dissonance, and Alex each going to get the first kill. Patiently waiting for that one. Farm still perfectly even, but it's like the master showing the Padawan the ways as Alex each picks up his first kill of the game over Yasui and flexing his muscles a bit there in the mid lane.
I don't know, Alex Sitch has gotten fairly low in that mid lane on himself, but like you said, great play right there, fantastically placed Shockwave and takes the first solo kill. So shots fired from Alex Sitch, and can Yasui fire back?
That's the big question here. He has finished the Triforce now. He has the needlessly large rod as well, so it looks like we are going to see the AP Corki build. Potentially that Luden's Echo coming out. We did see this a little bit in the NA LCS. Maybe not my favorite Corki build, but definitely a potentially powerful one. But it looks like Alex each already has his finished off the back of that kill. Luden's Echo Orianna, the new strategy for him.
It works really well for champions that are continuously rotating through their cooldowns, because obviously that's going to proc the static shiv, quote-unquote, effect that the Luden's Echo is going to give. So champions like Orianna, like Ahri, like Corki even, in the way that Yasui is going to play this, every time they go through their spell rotations, the Luden's Echo is just going to add a little bit more damage, a little bit more wave clear on top of it. Synergizes really nicely.
We'll have to see how well this works out for Alex each as they now push down into the mid lane. And it looks like the whole squad here is ready to take this one down. Sivir trying hard to defend it, but doesn't really have the power to do so. Only going to be able to clear the waves out, not really able to damage any of these champions. Now turning their attention toward Dragon. 12 seconds left on the respawn timer. Misfits have had dominant Dragon control at every point of this game, but it looks like finally Cloud9 Tempest feeling more comfortable to contest this one as they move in.
They are setting up for the big 5v5, and that's really what their composition is put together for. You've got the massive Maelstrom Cannon, you have the hard engage of Severe, you have great disengage from the Gragas Cask, so we'll see how this all stacks up when these two Titans finally clash.
Looks like they're just going to try to clear out as much vision as possible, playing this one very cautiously.
Doing. He immediately backs, he has the home guard available, he has the teleport, there is a ward that's placed behind Cloud9 Tempest. They're now standing on top of it as they rotate up to this blue buff, and he's just sitting in base and he's just waiting for the go button.
Oh, Alex each going to steal that blue buff. We'll have to see. Maybe not going to be a go button this time from RF Legendary. Still waiting patiently, but that blue buff is going to make it a lot harder for Corki to clear out these waves. They now push in to grab yet another turret. Hard, though. Waiting on the wings. May try to find it, engage.
45 seconds. Still sitting. All right, he's running in circles.
It's got to be tough to be RF Legendary. You have to be so patient. You have to be willing to give up so much for that perfect engage, but it's just so powerful. They are now moving in to take this dragon. The TP is coming in. That is one big hacker, and the back pings are coming out as they see that TP coming in. He's going to jump into them. Doesn't look like he's going to go to the back line, so he's going to do as much damage as possible. They're going to get the third dragon as the engage comes in. The slicing Maelstrom. Kennen instantly destroyed. The shockwave on far too many. As the team gets ripped through. Cloud9 in a rough spot as they have to flash out. Both AD carries burned out of the fight. Intense finding that kill, knowing the spell shield is down. They're now burning through this Nautilus effortlessly. Sheep trying to find his way to safety, but Alex each speeding up this Caitlyn means another kill for them, and Misfits did a huge swing in power there off that dragon fight.
Not only did they get the dragon, of course, but like you said, that massive shockwave, and really it came down to the two big AoEs from either team, the shockwave versus the Kennen ultimate. Like you said, far too many people ate that shockwave. Huge damage across the back line of Cloud9 Tempest.
It's just, when your Kennen disappears instantly, there's not really a whole lot you can do to win a team fight, and I don't even think...
He couldn't get the ultimate on the people that he needed because it was also on top of Crumbs' absolute zero. Obviously slowing down the movement speed and the range that Kennen has available to him.
One, of course, he has Zhonya's available as well, but the new absolute zero channel just destroyed him. And just a horrible position for him to be in. Gotta be rough. Solo is gonna have to reconsider how he engages in the next coming fight, but Cloud9's not out of this yet. The Dragon's buffs are stacking up, but until they get to 5, they're not going to have quite a huge impact, and still only a 1 gold advantage.
The big advantage that Solo King does have is he didn't need to burn his flash in that last engagement, whereas Alex Ich and Intense, so the 2 carries from Misfit, both their flashes are down and unavailable.
Crumbs poking out a little bit here before he backs off. 2-0 and 3. Gragas is yet to buy a Sight Stone, unfortunately, but we'll get to that Righteous Glory shortly, so give them a little bit more engage options. Now Alex Ich now pushing up this mid lane. 251 CS to Corky's 247. He finally got a lead. It's finally not even, at least for a few more moments.
Looks like it is going to be an attempted siege on this mid lane tower. Don't know how effective it's going to be into the blue buff Orianna, but we'll see. RF Legendary creating a pressure point in that top lane. Doesn't have teleport available to him, but does have the insane mobility that Hecarim is going to offer.
Ping's coming out on that mid lane tower. Misfits desperately want to protect this one. May not have an opportunity to do so. Blue buff Orianna, as you said, going to find a way to clear the waves as the shockwave comes in. Sheep immediately going to get popped out there.
There's the flash.
Flashing under the turret will get to Zanya's this time. He's going to be left alone, unfortunately, under there as Alex Ich picks up yet another kill. RF on the way, going to try to go in onto Yusui. There's a lot of damage there. Onslaught of Shadows going to get a lot. Triple kill coming in for Alex Ich. Beautiful play on that Orianna, and everything going wrong for Cloud9 as Alex Ich finds yet another pick and transitions it into a winning fight.
I'm going to give that one to RF Legendary and Crumbs. Fantastic positioning. So again, we talked about the flash discrepancy between Solo and Intense and Alex Ich. Was able to flash onto the back line, locked him up, completely zoned the 2 carries off of the fight. But the threat of RF Legendary, Crumbs, and the tower prohibited Cloud9 Tempest from following up on a fantastic engagement from Solo King.
It's a hard place to be. First time he gets popped. Second time, there's no one there to follow up, and this is kind of the excellent positioning for Misfits, but also Cloud9 putting themselves in some less than savory situations as, Sheep destroyed immediately at the start of that fight. So we'll have to see if they can figure out exactly what's going wrong in these engagements and sort out these communication issues, or if they're just going to keep, dropping the ball here because they are already 4K behind 25 minutes in with 3 dragons, and the next dragon's already about to spawn, probably about 3 minutes away at this point.
I feel like savory is a fantastic descriptor for Gragas. Like, if I had to choose any adjective for Gragas, it'd be savory.
I feel like savory was a poor choice of words on my part, but thank you for reinforcing it.
No, I am in full support of the savory.
Well, speaking of savory, Nunu now has the Banner of Command, one of my favorite items in the game, and of course, one that's going to be particularly powerful against a team with mostly magic damage-based wave clear. Intense, though, not looking like he's in a good spot as he gets ripped through by this lineup, that On the Hunt ultimate, allowing C9 to make a pick and find a skirmish that they need. Big question is, what can they transition this into?
Well, the pings are going down onto Baron, but it is just Crumbs clearing out that ward there. I like the fact that you brought up the Banner of the Command. Its power, especially in wave management and, setting things up like getting a pressure point across map from an objective like Baron and trying to take it that way, because they do have magic-based wave clear in Yusui, in Solo King, in even Hard, that it's very hard to take down that big, massive shield on a big, massive, empowered siege creep. It's
just so ridiculously difficult to do when
it's
you're
very
Kennen.
Funny to watch.
When Earth was out, one of the kind of more sinister strategies was to just get everyone to build Banner of Command and create about 20 Banner of Commanded creeps, because pretty much everyone in Earth is AP, and it means you literally just can't kill creeps, and it's not going to be quite as powerful in this game, but I imagine we'll see something of a similar effect as Gragas, Corky, and Kennen are pretty much going to be useless when it comes to clearing out that empowered minion.
Cloud9 Tempest Downfall, the empowered siege creep. Or it might be this this pick that we're setting up. I thought Crumbs was going to look for the Empire there, just standing in that bush and waiting, as this dragon is about to spawn in 6 seconds, but they don't want to risk a counter push on that mid lane and give away a tower for free, so popping back in there.
Looks like they're moving up now to the dragon, or the Baron area. Cloud9 going to try to get some vision control on this one, as they are going to give up the 4th dragon over to Misfits. However, the question is, are they going to take this Baron for themselves? It doesn't look like it.
They are playing the hide game. The issue, though, is that they missed the one ward on that side brush and have now been spotted out by the blue trinket that they're not going to be able to find the pick there. So they were looking for a high-risk, high-reward type of play because if they had found significant picks there or a good team fight, they could have immediately transitioned it into Baron. That said, pick doesn't work out just because they weren't able to clear enough wards, didn't have, their sweepers up and available to them, didn't buy enough pink wards to secure the area, lose the 4th dragon, which is pretty massive because it gives a very large power spike to Misfits should they decide to turn on Baron.
Let's see if they do. It looks like instead RF Legendary going to push up on the bottom side of the map. It does have teleport available, so we'll be able to come in at any point. Crumb's trying to find his way in. The Black Shield's going to protect him there. He is going to have to flash out. Shockwave hitting 2. Oriana does so much damage. Solo trying to find his way in. RF Legendary locked down. Buck going to get that Onslaught of Shadows off. With the Soul Shackle is going to pick up a kill for herself as C9 Solo gets locked out once again. 0-5-3. Definitely not the game the Solo King wanted when he got into this one.
And think about that. Oh, flash forward from AlphaDraft. Doesn't connect. Misfits face checked into that area, and they ended up with the kill.
And that's how you know you're ahead. I mean, at this point, a 4K gold lead maintained, 4 dragon buffs, and of course, the looming threat of that 5th dragon in just about 5 minutes. This is a tough game for C9 to come back, and they have the tools to do it, but it just doesn't look like they've been making the decisive plays necessary to secure themselves again in this game. And now we see RF once again building a wave, and on the opposite side, Intense doing a similar thing in the bottom side of the map.
And really, Cloud9 Tempest across the board, a lot of their members have had issues kind of getting up off the ground. Obviously, Misfit made a point to put Solo King down with consistent ganks, almost a camp set up from Crumbs there. Leaked into hard, losing a lot of control of his jungle. That said, Laud did get a favorable matchup, did get a good lane, and kind of came out ahead, probably out of all of Cloud9 Tempest lanes. Is coming up into that 3-item power spike of the 80 carries, has the Phantom Dancer available to him, has the Infinity Edge, and has the ingredients prepared for his Last Whisper. So we'll see if, as he completes that item and collects the rest of his farm that's needed, if he's able to kind of turn the tides of this. Is a very powerful, severe player.
Be interesting to see indeed. Now, my big question for you, Corky. We gotta watch Kennen try to kill the empowered creep, folks.
I believe.
It's only auto attacks. That's all he gets. Finally, the creeps focus it, and he's able to take that one down for himself. RF getting aggressive here onto Solo. Solo in a bit of a tough spot. RF not going to follow that one up, though. Doesn't want to burn an ultimate. But Corky, the big question here for me from Yasui is he has that Vamp Scepter as well. So what build path is this that we're seeing out of them? It's kind of this hybrid damage split with that Triforce and this Luden's Echo. Do you think it's the Blade of the Rune King?
I definitely think it's a Blade of the Rune King, offering him a lot more safety as well as ability to clear and control objectives better. And his damage is still primarily magic damage, so he's still getting the most out of his Sorcerer Shoes there, having the Luden's Echo, having the Trinity Force, and having the eventual Bork.
Well, we'll have to see how that pays off for him. Hasn't gotten any of the items yet, but a little bit of lifesteal never hurts. And of course, Yasui now clearing out some camps for himself. Both teams poised in the mid lane, clearing out a little bit of vision. RF Legendary waiting, starting his back animation to listen to the sweet guitar riff. But Baron, really the next big objective on the table, and it looks like neither team wanting to take a risk on it at this point in the game.
Definitely Vision Control is going to go over in favor of Misfits here, though. Now, Cloud9 Tempest have put themselves in quite a sticky situation. As this Dragon Timer turns over, they're going to have to fight. It's now or never. Like, you have 2 primary objectives that you just cannot afford to give up. And I feel like Misfits understands that they have this advantage and this power over Cloud9, and that they can dictate, like, you're going to have to fight us within the next 2 minutes. And so Cloud9, just quickly as possible, trying to farm out, take control of their waves, and now we see Sheep moving up into this area and setting up their vision. The Rumble is coming.
Misfits on the top side of the map. It looks like they're putting more of their emphasis towards Baron, knowing that they can take this pretty safely if the enemy team has to respond with Dragon. But at the same time, definitely a risk. At any moment, Laud can pop that on the hunt. They can be on top of him in just a second. But both teams are playing really cautious here. They have to always be careful, though. Alex each just does so much damage, and really no opposing member or no member on Cloud9 has any magic resist whatsoever. So that Oriana does a lot of damage, and if you don't respect it, your whole team fight could go south in an instant.
Do have another pick set up, though. There is a pink ward there, so a bit of a Fnatic brush coming out of Cloud9 Tempest. Will they make a catch? Nope.
Nope, just going to get spotted out.
Nope.
Doesn't look like it's going to work out for them this time. Dragon, in just a minute, they're taking their last opportunity to back out and buy the necessary items to win this fight. We'll have to see if it'll be enough. Sivir a little bit split in her build. Does have a BF sword as well as the long sword and the pickaxe. So no Last Whisper, no BF, or sorry, no Bloodthirster, but the pieces for each of those things.
The largest power spike available to him. Just the most immediate burst damage. Wards going down. The dragon will be spawning in 23 seconds.
Looks like Laud, Solo, Sui, all of Cloud9 here in the mid lane. Struggling to kill that creep as expected. Still, the banner command hasn't had too much effect, at least at this point of the game. They are going to be able to pick that one up pretty easily. Sivir just throwing a few auto attacks its way. But now Dragon 5 seconds away. 4, 3, 2, 1. It's going to be live. As both teams are poised to take it. Alex each setting up the Wombo combo. Hecarim's on the way. Gragas can disengage, though. All it's going to take is one good explosive cast to stop this from happening. But Solo kind of stuck on the outside. Alex each poking through. Solo getting burned through so quickly, but leaving the members trapped alone. Crumbs trying to disengage with that ultimate. Solo going to get burned through hard in a tough spot of his own. Crumbs operating as a tanky frontline intense, going over the wall to try to get this. RF Legendary jumping into the back, able to pick up Laud. Hard going down, and now looks like the double kill coming out. Now the 5th Dragon going to go over to Misfits as one of the most split team fights we've seen all game. Goes hugely in the favor of Misfits, and Yasui left to kind of just poke this out. No real damage, just Alex each rips through him. Caitlyn, ace in the hole, able to pick that one up for herself. Intense, now 5-1 and 6. Alex each dominant throughout every stage of this game.
That's the ace, that's the 5th Dragon, and that is surely the Baron. Misfit running away from this game is after this Baron drops, they will close down on a 10k gold lead, and everything went wrong for Cloud9 Tempest right there. Obviously, Solo was caught out, wasn't able to make the most of his cannon ultimate for his team to follow up on the damage on, but the bigger issue and kind of the tell of this game is that the Orianna Shockwave wasn't even needed that last fight. It was used on the very tail end of it against the support Nautilus, so not a lot Cloud9 Tempest can do. They definitely have to wait until this Baron buff and the 5th Dragon is gone, so it's about hiding in their base for the next few minutes.
That's a tough spot to be in, that Corki. Really not getting the necessary poke off before that fight started, and unfortunately Solo thought he found a clever way to engage on that back line, but no one able to get through. Crumbs, unfortunately, chanting that absolute 0, so as a result, just kind of killed, taken out. Hard similarly eliminated as Alex each pretty much going to be able to solo through this turret, doing so much damage with that 20% increased damage to turrets and structures as the Baron buff empowered Banner of Command creep probably can 8-shot this thing by itself, so that is going to be the first inhibitor. And RF Legendary similarly split pushing on the bottom side of the map. The power spike, the gold advantage was already massive. You pair that with the 5th Dragon, you pair that with the Baron buff, and suddenly the Misfits look unstoppable.
And we talked about how this game was the story of Solo King and engaging.
Trying to find a way in. Looks like he will almost go down. You know, the target of that depth charge. Alex each dominating now as Crumbs safely able to channel the majority of that ultimate. Intense getting in there. Has the blood boil. Does so much damage. And just going to chunk out Yasui at least a little bit. Picking up that kill onto Gragas. And they're now moving into the mid lane. RF Legendary does so much trying to run in. Bully out Yasui. Oh, almost picking up the kill for himself. Those home guard boots. And that Warpath passive doing so much. It looks like Misfits going to end their first game versus Cloud9 and looking like one of the strongest teams in the league. Guys, if you're not sure what your draft strategy is for AlphaDraft, it probably involves Alex each, if you couldn't already tell.
And what I was talking about before Solo King decided to make his Spartan last stand there is kind of the story going into this game is that you have the veteran big name players, you know, flanked with their rookies, of course, Alex Itch, Crumbs, RF Legendary, Intense, and you know, versus this new blood, Cloud9, Tempest, the number one, you know, all of these players across the board, Laud, Yasui, have so much potential in them to see into the North American LCS. We finally get the matchup, and unfortunately for Cloud9 Tempest, Misfit, just their veteran status holding true, superior objective control, superior rotation. That was an absolutely flawless and beautiful lane swap to watch, and just kind of run through this big powerhouse that's dominated the challenger scene for so long.
And it's a rough spot to be in, especially when you're Cloud9. You know, this is not exactly the first game you wanted, but clearly Cloud9's still a very strong team and has a lot of time to figure out exactly what they want to do. With this lineup, of course, we will get to see them play again tomorrow, along with the rest of these teams. We'll have another 5 games for you every day of the week until the weekend, of course. So Tuesday through Friday, the double round robin format, as we discussed earlier. But in the meantime, head on over to AlphaDraft. You still have time to draft your fantasy team for tomorrow, potentially win big bucks here in tomorrow's games. And obviously, you got a little bit of a taste of what each of these teams can handle. We'll have to see how they do against the remaining squads, but we'll be back tomorrow with the next set of games, and thank you all for watching. My name is Lal Sifa, and of course I'm joined by Froscorin.
Welcome to AlphaDraft, where esports fans win cash and prizes for drafting top fantasy teams. Your mission is this: every week draft your dream team from the LCS pros in that week's matchups. You'll receive a $50,000 salary cap to select your team. Teams have 6 players, a top, jungle, mid, ADC, support, and a flex position which can be filled by any player. You will also choose the team that you think will play best. Players are scored based on kills, deaths, assists, and CS, and teams win points for Dragon, Baron, and Turret kills. Every week, choose from both free and paid contests that will give away thousands of dollars in cash and prizes. Once games start, watch directly from AlphaDraft and see your stats update live. Most contests have many winners, so check back often to see how you match up against other LCS fans. Good luck, and remember, knowledge is money. Be Alpha.